Good evening. Welcome to the November 21st, 2022 regular school board meeting. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Grant,
Present.
Mr. Carpenter,
Present.
Mr. Leeds,
Here.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Here.
and Mr. Fulham.
Present.
Would everyone please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1.3, any additions or deletions to the agenda?
No.
Thank you. Moving on to item 1.4, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
Mr. Leeds,
Aye.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye, motion carried. And moving on to section 2, discussion and comments from the board, starting with Mr. Leeds, legislative, 2.1.
Okay, you're gonna have to hang on, because I got a lot. They
All right.
blew the lid off of things last week in Columbus. The House Activity Committee unanimously passed House Bill 403. The bill will require the school district superintendents to file a report with the Ohio Department of Education regarding a teacher who retired under threat of disciplinary investigation, in addition to those who resigned under threat of disciplinary investigation. The bill now goes to the Senate for consideration. The committee, there was a committee, which is the same thing, House Committee, also held sponsor testimony for House Bill 360 or 565, which would add 5 students as non-voting members to the State Board of Education. And then additionally, the committee held sponsor testimony for House Bill 619, which would allow school districts to permit K through 12 students to take up to 3 mental health days per school year as excused absences or in-school mental health programs. The bill also would allow school districts to refer a student who uses the mental health day to the appropriate school health and support services, such as counseling, social work, or psychological services. Senate Primary and Secondary Education Committee sponsored testimony for Senate Bill 178. This is the doozy. Which would reform the functions and responsibilities of the State Board of Education, the Superintendent of Public Instruction, and ODE. A substitute version of the bill is forthcoming. However, Senator Renke spoke to provisions that will be included in the substitute bill, which include creating a Department of Education and Workforce with a cabinet level appointed by the governor and approved by the Senate, dividing the agency into 2 divisions, the Division of Primary and Secondary Education, which will also include preschool, and the Division of Career Technical Education, authorizing the new department to be responsible for the rulemaking process and the enforcement of current rules, maintaining the current structure of the state school board by limiting its duties to teacher licensure, educator or staff conduct, and territory transfer decisions. The curriculum will be moved from underneath the State Board of Education to a cabinet level underneath the governor. And this is because parents want more input in the curriculum for their students, supposedly. That's what's the reason they're doing that. But that means we've got a long way to go. But the Chairman Brenner stated that it is his intent to hold several hearings on the bill over the next few weeks and hold a committee vote by the end of the year.
Oh.
Okay, and then the committee held sponsor testimony for House Bill 554, which would require the State Board of Education to issue 2-year temporary educator licenses to applicants with expired professional teacher certificates and professional educator licenses as long as certain requirements are met. And finally, the committee held a testimony on House Bill 606, which will require public and charter non-public schools to create an individualized seizure action plan for each enrolled student who has an active seizure disorder diagnosis. The bill also will require each school to have at least one employee trained in implementing seizure action plans and will require students to receive age-appropriate instructions on seizure disorders. Senate Finance Committee which would provide, sponsored by the Republican out of Canton, which would provide a full or partial tax exemption to developers and owners of newly constructed homes with specified areas during the construction period and for 10 years after the home is occupied.
Oh.
So if you want to buy a new house and get tax exempt, there you go. The Senate Local Government and Election Committee, and this is sponsored by our Representative Hall, would eliminate the August special election except in instances when the August special election is to nominate or elect candidates for the U.S. House of Representatives, or if a school district is under a physical emergency.
Okay.
The bill also would allow a school district whose entire territory is located within the congressional district that is on the August ballot to put on certain levies on the August ballot. Senate Workforce and Higher Education Committee held on Senate Bill 251. They want to allow a person under 16 to be able to be employed between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. during the school year if the person has parental or legal guardian consent. The House committees on House Bill 462 would prohibit swatting. The amendment changes the offense from a first-degree felony to a second-degree felony. The House Insurance Committee looked at House Bill 540, which would require the State Teachers Retirement System, STRS, and the State Employees Retirement System, SERS, among others, to disclose certain financial information regarding alternative investments. The committee held a second hearing on House Bill 541, which would prohibit STRS and SERS, among others, from doing business with a former state retirement system employee, officer, or board member. The committee held sponsor testimony for House Bill 539, which would require STRS and SERS, among others, to publicly broadcast and archive board meetings. Okay, this one here was done on Tuesday of last week. I don't understand it, but I'm going to read it to you. The State Board passed a resolution that would recommend the General Assembly pass a repeal of the provisions mandating the retention of third-grade students who do not meet the minimum score on the third-grade English Language Arts Assessment. The State Board also passed a resolution that would start the process of selecting a search firm to assist in hiring a state superintendent of public instruction. Thought we already had that. The State Board of Education Executive Committee passed a resolution regarding the proposed federal changes to Title IX. The State Board will vote on the resolution at the December board meeting. That's all I have. So the Senate Bill 178 is going to get a lot of traction. I think Robert brought it up at the superintendent's meeting this
Yep.
past week, so.
There is a lot of traction with that one. I think everyone's been frustrated with the Ohio Department of Education over the last few years, their kind of lack of leadership, and really during the pandemic, they sort of just disappeared. And so 178 basically eliminates all of their authority. They would be in charge of managing licenses for teachers, and they'd be clerical. And it would create a new cabinet level position for, like Tom said, under the governor. That could be good or bad depending on who the governor is at the time for public education. So we will see what that goes. And that last one, you talked about state superintendents, because he resigned. They went through that search. The guy accepted for like 6 days and then quit. And then they went through another search and couldn't decide, and so now they have an interim. So I believe that's what they're talking
Okay.
about with that one. So.
Okay.
And the other part of that, it's eliminating the third grade guarantee, that last piece of it.
Thank you, Tom. Moving on to 2.2, Butler Tech, Mr. Guido.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, members of the board. Actually, a lot going on, and so I'll start with some of the meetings I've done. I did go to the chamber meeting, saw Robert there. Were you there?
I don't think so,
don't
not
think
that
you
one.
It was on higher education, so Cincinnati State, Butler Tech's Workforce Development Center was there, as well as Miami University. After that, I went and visited the aviation program at the Middletown Airport. It's pretty interesting. If you guys want to go see something pretty cool, they have the simulators, the flight simulators and all that there. So I was really impressed with what they do. They have a pilot that is the instructor there, and then they have another teacher, so they do like shared teaching. So she's got 35 years of teaching experience, and he's used to being up in a plane. So it works out very well. That could be a failure, but I think they have very good synergy together. So I was impressed with that. So we have been in conversations with the money that we received from Butler County about the expansion of that program, the aviation program, as well as an advanced manufacturing program down in Hamilton in conjunction with Miami University. So it's a partnership between Miami University and the city of Middletown for both of those facilities. And so we're exploring where that's going to be, what that's going to look like, and stay tuned, because it's pretty impressive what we've been speaking about so far. Career days have begun at all campuses. I don't know if they've been to Monroe yet. If not today, it'll likely be tomorrow when that is going to be. That's where kids come in and do their initial exploration of what program that they may be interested in preparation for potentially attending Butler Tech of some sort. Election day, that was an all-staff day, so we had an all-staff meeting at Lori's Roadhouse. A lot of people got their cowboy boots out and had a good time there, so a lot of professional development as well, so that was a very good event. Following that, the next day was a Business Advisory Council meeting, and I didn't see you there either. But roughly 160 to 200 people there, so it wouldn't be a surprise if I didn't see you, because very crowded as well. That continues to gain traction as the workforce needs of this entire area continue to expand, and we'll continue to hopefully serve the needs of whatever business people around here are looking to do. Followed by that, in November, we met with all of our elected officials. So I had coffee with Cindy Abrams, Representative Thomas Hall, Representative Carruthers, Representative Jennifer Gross, Senator Lang. So through November, I've been a little jittery. A lot of coffee. Talk about any needs that they have, any legislation that they may be working on that's education related, and really reach out to them to see if we can be a resource to anything that they need as well. The National ACTE conference is next week, so I'll be leaving November 30th through the 5th. We had several sessions that our staff is teaching in, as well as we have, a district have got together. There is what they call a mega session. As you're aware, did anybody go to OSBA? As you're aware, you go onto those little breakout meetings and there's, 60 to 100 people in there. They're separating them out at specific times where they have 4 mega sessions that you can attend. So there's going to be several hundred people there, if not more, in each of those sessions. And that is around disrupting the classroom, kind of around our 5th day experience that we do at Butler Tech. So that'll be an interesting session as well. And then the last thing I want to share is I talked about the Alumni Association. It is up and running now. Their website went live a couple weeks ago. So if you are an alumni from 1975 to 2022, please take a minute and go visit the website. Just go to butlertech.org, and there is a link on there for that. You can register for, an alumni association. They'd love to take a donation to raise money for supplies for some of the kids that are in the programs. But also another interesting thing that they do is there is a job board on there. So you can post a job on there, as well as you can look for a job if you're looking for a job. So they hope, obviously, that it'll continue to grow. And the main purpose of that, again, is to provide funds for students for their supplies for their classes that they do. So, and I don't know if there was anything else. Oh, well, we had our board meeting last week. First board meeting that Superintendent Graft has missed. He had a new knee, so he was unable to come. So, but he's doing well.
Good.
Any questions?
No. Thank you very much.
No.
Thank you.
Moving on to 2.3, finance.
So we did have a meeting. We briefly talked about the backpack bill with the education reform at the beginning of the meeting. And then Mrs. Cahall went and showed us the new program she's using, the Frontline. It's very informative. It shows us the trends, very easily shows us the trends that Monroe compares with other schools in the district and within the state. So the quick, what I saw was, I was very impressed by it. And so I kind of recommend if you ever have a chance to sit down and take a look at it with her. It's a lot of good information that we can use in the future. But she's just starting to use it, so we're still learning. And but I think it'll be a really good tool for the future coming up.
Good.
So,
I will share some of those reports with the board in a meeting at some point too, but thank you so much, Debbie.
Thank you.
Yep, very nice.
Moving on to 2.4, student achievement.
Our students at the primary building are excited for their fall break to begin. We do have a Santa breakfast on Saturday, December 10th at Monroe Primary from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We will have food, music, photo props, crafts, and of course, Santa will be making an appearance. The cost is $5 per person pre-sale and $7 per person at the door. We promise it'll put you in a holiday spirit. It's fun. At the junior high, our 8th grade Hive classes participate in passion projects, which are student-led projects that are set to create a positive impact within our school and community. Mr. Hunt's class has toy drive for families in need within the Monroe community. Ms. Marshall, mural of elementary cafeteria. Ms. Jeffers, welcome bags for new students. Ms. Larbs, hygiene drive for families in need within the community. Mrs. Lamping, pen pals. Mrs. Baker, mural for inclusion. Mrs. Sharkley, Paul's Animal Shelter. Mrs. Keneally, mural painting, and Mrs. Decker, inclusion focus poster. So cool program that's going on at the 8th grade level. High school, several of our high school students have had the opportunity to learn more about some local businesses and career opportunities through the Career and College Readiness class field trips. Mrs. Turvey has been doing a fantastic job in the organization and execution of these unique opportunities in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce serving Middletown, Monroe, and Trenton. 11 students toured the Magellan Aerospace facility and learned about their unique honeycomb structures, primarily for aircraft exhaust and control systems. The students explored careers in engineering, welding, precision machinery, inspecting, electric, maintenance, sales, and marketing. We had 11 students visit Cleveland Cliffs, where they were fitted for their PPE and toured the plant, hearing from multiple career pathways in precision machining, welding, engineering, pipe fitting, maintenance, and human resources. For our trip to Premier Health's Atrium Medical Center, 18 students interested in healthcare careers visited the Trauma Care Center, Rehabilitation Center, and met with HR to learn about volunteer opportunities, high school job opportunities, the Sinclair Premier Health Academy, and how to apply to positions in healthcare. They explored career pathways related to patient care, such as nursing, occupational therapy, physical therapy, respiratory therapy, speech and language pathology, and medical imaging. They also learned about careers unrelated to patient care, such as IT, registration, policing and security, human resources, communications, and clergy. And finally, 15 students toured the Ohio Living Care Facility and learned about careers in STNA, nursing, facilities, culinary, maintenance, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and marketing. That's all I got.
Good, very good. Thank you. Moving on to 2.5, MEA.
He is not here tonight.
All right. So we will move on to section 3, recognition. Mr. Buskirk.
At this time, I'm going to recognize Eric Silverman, who has just one group. Andrew Wilcox is actually ill, so we're going to push that back to a later meeting, but he does have the girls soccer team here that he'd like to recognize.
So first of all, thank you again to the board for allowing us the opportunity to recognize our student athletes. So we had a really, really impressive fall sports season. A lot of outstanding accomplishments at many different levels, and one of those was our girls soccer program. They absolutely performed outstanding all year long. I'm going to let Coach Williams talk a little bit about the individual accomplishments. I don't want to steal that thunder, but I do want to give one stat just to kind of give a little shout out to our senior group as well. Over the last 4 years, our girls soccer program, doing a little basic math, was 63 wins, 13 losses, and 5 ties. I mean, that is unbelievable when you look at what these young ladies and our program have accomplished. So we're really excited for them to be here, to have the opportunity to recognize them and the incredible season they had, earning a district championship and making it back to the Division II regional tournament. So, Coach Williams.
It's always a good thing when I'm standing here around this time, so I like that. Monroe High School athletics has definitely shined this season, and we have so much to celebrate, just like what Mr. Silverman said. You know, not only our girls soccer team, but we had so much success from other programs and individuals as well. I want to thank the Board of Education for inviting us here tonight to celebrate the accomplishments of the girls soccer program. I'm absolutely going to highlight them and give you a recap of their season. I'd also like to thank Eric Silverman and the athletic department. He just does a tremendous job, goes above and beyond, and just supports our programs inside and out, and just really works hard behind the scenes. So I really appreciate him and all of his work. And now to my girls. I just want to start off by giving you a season recap. This season, our team ended with a record of 13 wins, 4 losses, and 2 ties. Offensively, we scored 71 goals and surrendered 14 to our opponents. Our girls were ranked second in the Miami Valley Scholastic Soccer Coaches Association all season, and also they were ranked in the state all season as well. Our final ranking was number 9. The girls should be extremely proud of themselves for the respect that they've deserved all season. Our motto this year was embrace the chase, and that is exactly what our girls did. This team fought through one of the toughest league conferences in the surrounding area, along with our non-league matchups. They were challenged each and every day, which made us a better and a stronger team throughout our season journey. As teams deal with adversity throughout the season, we did too. We learned from each win, loss, and challenge on and off the field. We not only became better teammates throughout the season, but we most importantly became better people through the experiences that we shared together. This team could have easily settled after we didn't even have a chance to win league, but we didn't. These girls continued to fight and earned the program's third district championship in school's history. This is an outstanding accomplishment, and I am truly blessed and honored to coach such an amazing group of young ladies. Our team roster this year included 9 seniors who will be extremely missed. These seniors helped create a phenomenal resume. This senior class has been part of 2 league titles, 1 district runner-up title, 3 district championship titles, 1 regional championship title, and a State 4 final appearance. Lastly, I'd like to acknowledge our postseason awards. Our all-league honors this year for the SWBL included first team Brooke Miltenberger and Sarah Deaton, second team Kira Thompson, Riley McKinney, and Peyton Allen. Honorable mention, Willa Larbus. Our All-Miami Valley League honors included first team Brooke Miltenberger and Sarah Deaton, second team Kira Thompson, honorable mention, Riley McKinney, and Peyton Allen. First team All-District awards went to Brooke Miltenberger and Sarah Deaton, and Brooke Miltenberger went on and she achieved second team All-State honors. Lastly, I want to, I should have done this prior, but I really want to thank my coaching staff. Carly Osterman and Katie Schaefer, they weren't here, they weren't able to be here tonight. But I really want to highlight Mackenzie Ludwig, since some of you don't know her, but she's in the house tonight. And she did an outstanding job. So, and I know our girls really learned a lot from her, and she really added so much to our coaching staff. So thank you, Mackenzie, for all of your hard work. And now I would like to honor our girls. I know several of our teammates were not able to be here tonight due to work, or they're practicing on the soccer field. So when I call your name, ladies, come on up so you can be recognized. Addie Bivac. Michaela Tolbert. Addison Agee. Ella Mann. Gracie Smith. Sophia Salee. Mia Shrigarat. Mia Palacios. Sarah Deaton. Willa Larbus. Arabella Martinez. Peyton Allen. Captain Emma Gallagher. Layla Etter. Captain Lindsay Bivac. Riley McKinney. Natalie Schneider. Kira Thompson. Avery Sloan. Captain Brooklyn Miltenberger. And Haley Palacios. And Mackenzie Ludwig.
Two rows. We probably should have had Mr. Allen do that. We probably should have had you and Alison. What if we just like angle this way just slightly so it's not right in front of you, okay?
Mr. Silverman first. Now, Mrs. Bowe.
Hey, congratulations.
Congratulations, girls.
Thank you, ladies.
So before we move on, hey, ladies, I was able to attend the last soccer game at Lakota East, and it was a really good game. That was a tough match. And I just want you to know I was there and saw that. It was just amazing. And what a blessing for you guys to have that game.
I don't know why they don't want to stay on
Yeah,
They don't want to stick around.
must have a lot of homework.
I don't know what's wrong with you.
For a holiday break.
Happy Turkey Day.
All right.
Tom. Yep. No. Sorry, next 3.2 is, we have Mr. Prohaska here. He is going to recognize Mrs. LaForest.
Hey, real quick before we do that, I also was at that soccer game. I've seen a lot of soccer in the last couple of years, and I don't think Stacy gets enough credit. So I just want you guys to know she's a fantastic coach. If you watch enough high school soccer, a lot of time it's just about getting the ball down the field as fast as you can. You watch our girls, there's a lot of sets going on. They're like triangle passing it up and down the field. That only comes with coaching. So, I mean, she doesn't get enough recognition for what she does. I was told to keep this short and sweet, but real quick, I think it's important that we recognize the hard work that Dara LaForest is putting in the counseling office. I'm not sure how many of you could actually tell us what FAFSA stands for, so I'm going to tell you. It's the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. I've done that with my daughters. It is very taxing. It's a long process. It's not easy. It could be intimidating. So the fact that Dara kind of grabbed this the bull by the horns and had some help through the Butler County ESC to get a grant, so we could spend about $2,500 last year and this year, so we could help our students and our parents navigate through that. And I just want to hit some of the numbers with you because this is pretty impressive. In 2021, we had 35 students who were involved in the process. That jumped up to this year to 70. Total grant involved in 21 was $57,000. Now that jumped up to $222,000 in potential grants. Completed FAFSA grant in 21, it was $42,000 for families. That's jumped up to $60,000 this year. Total FAFSA completed. As of right now, there are 19 that have completed that, and that is the savings of over $60,000. We still have 51 of them that are working on completing that, which they will. And potential grant dollars is $161,000. So this was I went to our individual over at the Butler County ESC to see if this grant would be available again in the future, and it looks like it won't be. I've already taken the steps to hopefully put this in our budget for next year, that we could provide this service for our kids and for our families. But it definitely made a big difference. So lots of money being saved. I think that a lot of parents really appreciate it. It's not an easy process to navigate. And as you can see, there was a huge jump in the number from 21 to 22 that were involved, and hopefully we could get that over 100 next year. So I just want to take the time to recognize Dara because she put that together, and it's really making a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to section 4, comments from the public. Seeing that we do have one, I want to make this statement. The Board of Education recognizes the value to school governance of public comments on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. The public may participate during comments from the public or when the public are recognized by the board president or superintendent. Those wishing to address the board must fill out the request form provided at the meeting. They should be submitted to the treasurer before the meeting begins. Persons addressing the board must give his or her name and address, and there will be a three-minute limit for addressing the board. Such request shall be subject to the approval of the superintendent and the president. In order to permit the fair and orderly expression of such comment, the board shall provide a period for public participation at every regular meeting of the board and publish rules to govern such participation in board meetings. The presiding officer of each board meeting at which public participation is permitted shall administer the rules of the board for its conduct. Upon request of the superintendent, the district shall make reasonable accommodations for a disabled person to be able to participate in this activity. Executive sessions may be proposed at any time during the meeting by any board member for any purpose authorized by law, and per policy 0166, public complaints about district personnel may be heard in executive session. So Zachary Stacy?
Good evening. My name's Zach Stacy. Your neighbor right here at the Butler Tech Natural Science Center. My family and I serve Butler Tech as the farm managers, managing the campus livestock. So we've been there for about 3 years now. First off, so I don't sound so negative, I want to commend you guys. We've had a great experience since moving to the district. You have wonderful staff. We're very happy here. I recently had my son begin school at the primary building. I've spent some time there over the past months. Just had a few nagging issues that I wanted to speak to you folks about. Obviously, we're a district that is filling up. We're growing. I've been keeping up with you through your minutes. I know you guys are in the stages of beginning to explore building expansion.
Could you speak louder, please?
Yeah, I know you guys are in the beginning stages of looking into building expansion. I know you're starting that process, so I won't get off on a tangent about that. You guys are working hard on that. My only question is, in the beginning stages of that, do you have a time frame or projection of where we stand on a new building? As you know, our primary building is in pretty poor shape. Some of the glaring issues I've found, just as a parent with kids going to school every day in today's society, school security is a top priority. My wife's an educator, so it's something we think about often. Something at the primary building that just stands out to me, we have multiple broken windows, a few of which I observed at the last parent-teacher meeting are simply taped up with plastic. I don't think that is a adequate environment for our staff and students. If it's going to be some years before we do secure new space, what can we do to address those repairs at the older building? Secondly, most of this has to do with security. I know we had some change-ups. We hired a full-time resource officer for our campus at Butler Tech. How many resource officers do we have here? And how much time, if any, do they spend at the primary building? Thank you.
Thank you for your time
Thank you.
and your questions.
Mayor, I didn't know that we had to submit a form in order to speak here for the comment section today. Is there any way that I can address an issue? It's only gonna take a few minutes, and I think that it's important that at least I get the ball rolling on where to go from here with addressing this issue with the cafeteria lunch fees, considering that it is a serious issue that's going on right now in America in the school systems. And there's just a couple things that I want to say about it. One of the issues is.
Hold on, real quick.
Wait.
Can you fill out a public comment?
Is this it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's out for me.
Should be.
Is that the sign-in sheet or is it? That might be the sign-in sheet. 1 minute. Yeah.
There's no form.
Well.
Dave. You got it?
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he has.
We need to tell that guy when we get information.
Can I get your email address on here?
There we go.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, Cicely Thomas, you can come on up and just state your name and address, please.
My name is Cicely Thomas, and I thank all of you guys for accommodating me because I absolutely would have came up here earlier. And I have an issue regarding the school lunch fees. I was trying to get the lunch fees reduced, and it was brought to my attention. I'm still waiting to hear back to see what can be done about that. That's just one component of it. I have several phone calls in for, at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Mike DeWine's office, trying to figure out what we can do to resolve this issue. I thought I filled out a school form for lunch fees to have the fees reduced. To make a long story short, the kids started saying they couldn't keep up with the fees. And so they said it was also some other issues with other children addressing that their fees were kind of expensive and they couldn't afford the fees in school, that there were several other children having this issue as well. So I reached out to Becky to figure out exactly what was going on with the school fees, to figure out the amounts, et cetera, et cetera. That's one component of it. The second component is that they started up the Interact Club, and I was just here last year when they were making the announcement to the board with the Interact Club with some ideas on environmental, how to give back to the community, et cetera, et cetera. So they've been doing that these last couple of weeks, as you guys probably are aware of, the music on Fridays in order to make money, and they've been making about $50 a week and playing music on Fridays. And they still haven't decided exactly what they're gonna use that money for. That's another component of it. And so while we're going kind of back and forth trying to figure out the fees, how the government goes back and reimbursement, because I know most government funding, they can go back and reimburse for certain things back to a period of time. I noticed that there were now comments that started at the time that I'm investigating these fees, that they want to eliminate the music on Fridays. It's a distraction to the lunch cafeteria staff. To me, in a forward-thinking society, for a program that could be utilized, that could be put on a pilot for other schools, which we all know during this epidemic, there were a lot of schools that were having issues with fees. There were people that were coming out of their pocket to pay for children's fees. And I don't have a problem with paying the $200. Like, my one issue is that it was up to $200 and no one notified me of that. That's one issue. But I'm willing at the same time to pay another student's fees as well as my child's fees, because every year we like to adopt a family. I wouldn't mind adopting one of these seniors who will not be able to graduate from these lunch fees when these kids are speaking about these lunch fees issues. And I think we need to address the lunch fee issue. I don't know if you guys have already talked about it in the past. I don't know how serious it is at Monroe, but word on the grapevine is that it's a little more serious than what you guys are probably aware of. And so, I don't know, like I said, I want to keep it short because this is the beginning stages. I want to just throw it out there for you guys. We got the option to me to do the music to help pay for some of those fees, or the kids can donate some of that money back, helping each other pay for fees. I'm willing to foster or adopt a child out this year. I don't know what I would have to do to pay those student fees. And then we also need to figure out exactly how it got to that. How did it get from reduced to full price why wasn't I notified? Why was other students saying they weren't notified neither? So with that, I'm gonna rest, let you guys handle it. And I'm available if anybody.
Yeah, do you have your, is this the correct phone? Hold on here. 444, okay, I think I have it. Do you want to write down your address, or your email address here so we can contact
Yes,
you?
yes. And like I said, I got some phone calls in and I'm trying to figure out some programs or something else that we can come up with to help out these children.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll reach out to both of them.
I did talk to her, so I talked to her, but we can talk later.
All right, moving on to section 5, treasurer's business. Mrs. Cahall.
Okay, first, I'm asking the board to approve the treasurer's financial report for October 31st, 2022.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Okay.
Any questions?
Okay. The only thing I want to tell you is just the fund balance. That's all I could do this, this time because I was so involved in the other program. But I will have a more thorough report for you in December. One of the things I usually share with you all is how we are compared.
Hold on.
Hold on, we're only on
Approval of the minutes.
5.1.
What?
We're gonna,
Oh, we're in the minutes. I'm sorry. Okay, okay,
Take-
Fulham,
Yes.
Carpenter. I tell you, I'm ready for Thanksgiving.
Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
Mr. Leeds,
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye, motion carried. Now, 5.2.
Okay. Recommending that.
Yes, may I have a motion
Second.
for the treasurer's financial report?
So
Mr.
moved.
Leeds and Mr. Fulham.
Leeds and Fulham, okay.
All right. Now you're on the clock there, Mrs.
Okay.
Cahall.
Okay, all I really have today is, I shared with you the bank reconciliation. As you know, we balance with the bank every month, but I don't really have a formal report because traditionally I have a monthly report that shows you budget to actual and where we're going to be heading throughout the year. And this program does help with that. I mean, but you have to file for your 5-year forecast with them first. So I'll have it in December. I mean, right now it's comparing the monthly to where we ended up June 30th, which doesn't make any sense. So, but I will have that for you next time. So, but I just want to tell you the general fund balance is $37,819,000. And the all funds is $47,781,982, $47,781,000. So.
Okay. Any questions? All right, Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds,
Aye.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye, motion carried. Item 5.3,
Asking the board to approve the bond fund report for October 31st, 2022.
may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. All right,
Okay. In October, we received $86,595 in homestead and rollback funds and $593.80 in homestead funds. There was also $368 that we spent on auditor treasurer fees. And the current balance in the bond fund is $4,968,818.
is all the money where it's supposed to be?
Oh, yes, it is.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn,
Aye.
Mr. Leeds,
Aye.
Mr. Fulham,
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter,
Aye.
and Mr. Grant.
Aye, motion carried. Item 5.4,
I'm asking you all to approve the 5-year forecast tonight as presented.
may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Okay. I would like to say a few words about the forecast. I need to go to, maybe I could just do it from here.
Okay.
Okay. So the key assumptions in this forecast are that the Fair School Funding Plan will not continue after '24. I mean, it's for, after '23, after this year. They uncapped us for 2022 and 2023, and we're hopeful that they will, again, continue with the Fair School Funding Plan, which would mean we would get another chunk, another 1/6 of what we're owed next year and the following, but we can't, I've been advised not to count on that for this forecast. So that's one assumption. The other assumption is Rocky will be granted their tax complaint. We don't know what they're going to decide. And we kind of have a suspicion maybe it'll be half because that's been our experience, but we don't know for sure. And then also, we have figured in additional staff for '23, but I have not for the future, and we'll get more, maybe we'll get more, work together on that, so we kind of can project what kind of staff we do need. So right now, I don't have that information. So, but, so what it's showing first is, you can see what a crazy year 2021, 22 is. I mean, give this up and down. The expenditures are orange, the revenue is blue. So, but I just wanted to show a little bit of history there, how up and down everything is. And so expenditures are rising faster than revenue. And on the forecast, I do show that we start deficit spending around 2025, 26. So, okay, go to the next slide, please. Okay, here it is. So I think you all have seen a slide like this before. And if they don't continue with the Fair School Funding Plan, then we may start deficit spending 3 years down the road. So can you go to the next slide? Oh, okay, so I did take advantage of some of the reports that they provide you, and what this shows is our expenses year over year, dollar and percentage, and it shows, like, for example, in 2021, we spent 4.5% more than 2020 in 2020, so it's like just percentage of the change. And so you can see in 2022, we spent a little bit less than we did in '21. You'll see in 2021, '22, things are really strange in some of these slides because of the pandemic, and there was a lot of shifts. So this is total, so I wanted to show you a little bit of the detail. So go to the next slide. Okay, this is salaries. So in 2020, we did add some staff in 2020. We did have raises scheduled through the MEA agreement, but we did add some staff in. We added 5 staff in 20, but you really see the effect in 21, even though we added them in 20. It may not have been consistent when we did, but you see the effect later on in 2021. Oh, and then I noticed substitutes went up in 2021, the internal subs. Supplementals went up in 2021. And then, there were things that we did between those years. But what's funny is in 2020, we paid out more sick leave, more personal leave, because that was during quarantine and nobody used those. But anyway, there was a small 2% increase. And then in 22, it did go down. Let's see. Overload went up. So see, some things that happened in 2021 did not happen in 2022. So it did not, so in 2022, it went up 7.25 plus 3.56 from 2020. So it's just the percent change from the year before. So it's not like it went down, it just went up less.
It's 10% over from 2020 to 2020.
It just goes up less.
Yes.
So that's how you understand this. And it's not like 7% over. I mean, it's normal, the 5%, and sometimes things happen that it's a little bit more in different parts of salaries. And it's not all, I mean, everybody's consistently getting raises, but sometimes you pay more bonuses, sometimes even supplementals. There was a year that we paid more in supplementals than another year. So those kind of things, I just want you to see what affects salaries. Especially, I'm anxious to see what happens after this pandemic, to see if there's more consistency. I mean, I know right now, because of enrollment growing, we are hiring more staff. So we will be seeing increases in salaries.
Can I just ask a question real quick on this slide? From 2025 to 26, I know those are forecast, but why the reduction of 3%?
What happens in 24 is we're adding, 24, we're definitely adding staff, or 23 and 24. Okay, in 23, let me just say this. In 23, we added 7 certified and 15 classified in 23. In 22, we added 5 classified. In 24, let's see, this is 23, we're going to have 1 person coming back from ESSER. And in 24, let's see, I'll get my years mixed up. This is 23, then there's 24. 25, we're going to have 10 staff coming back in 25 from ESSER. So that's, you can see that's, I mean, there's an increase there, but that's what it's showing.
So when you say staff coming back from SR, like they're no longer going to be from the SR funds, it's going back to the general fund?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and so it's fun, so we'll see an increase in 25. We hired more staff in 23, so 24 is going to go up, and then in 25, it's going to go up more, another 8, because we're adding more staff there. Some of the 24 is from the staff we're adding this year, because we're kind of adding it throughout. They didn't start in the beginning, and, we're estimating, so there's that increase there. And then the increase in 25 is from the ESSER. And then I did not add any new staff beyond that. So that's why it's not increasing after that, which is probably very unrealistic, but I don't have numbers. So.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Are those, so it says annual dollar change, maybe I'm reading this incorrectly, of what the green represents. So looking at 19, am I to understand that we spent just over 600,000 total in salaries that year?
19? No, that's the change.
So we spent
It's change in salaries.
$600,000 more
Yeah.
in 19 than we did in 18?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes it's 600, sometimes it's.
Okay, that's how I was reading it, but it just, I'm not familiar enough maybe with the.
Well, if you look
the
at
typical change.
2020 to 21, it's almost $1 million more in
Yeah.
salaries from 2020
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I
21.
was reading the graph correctly.
Which graph? Okay, is that the next graph? Or,
So am I to understand that we're estimating that we'll pay 1.2 million more than we do in 23, which is
yeah. Yeah,
800,000
because-
more than 22? So that's $2 million more than 22?
Wait,
Did I say that correctly?
2 million more.
So looking at 24 where it says I'm rounding down, but 1.2 million more than the previous year, right?
One,
And then,
from 23.
and in 23, I'm rounding down a little bit to 800,000 compared to 22. So am I to understand that we're estimating that we're going to pay roughly $2 million more in 24 than we are 22 for salaries? Is that,
Oh, that could be likely.
okay,
See, if you look at the
that make sense?
forecast, it's
Okay.
15 million in 23, 16.2 million in 24, and then 17.6 million
okay.
in 25. I mean, so it is. I mean, it's easier for me to see the forecast than trying to figure out those side numbers. And this, but it just tells you,
So salaries have gone up every year dating back to 18, from 18 moving forward, because these are 19, 20, 21.
yeah, salaries have
Those are
gone
real
up.
numbers.
Because there have been
Sure.
built-in increases and step increases.
Okay.
And the average change, according to your forecast, is roughly 5.4%.
Wait, say that again.
The average change in
Change.
increases are
About
average 5.4%.
I mean, steps are about 1.8, and then the 2.5 on top of that, and then people moving
New
across.
staff.
So,
Okay, okay.
that's correct. Okay. So, but I especially wanted to point out the 24, that we're going to add people back in, and then in 25, it's going to have an effect on that too. So, back in, one's coming back 1 year, and then a bunch are coming back the next year. So, and we've hired staff this year that will be carried forward. So, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, go to the next slide, please. Oh, benefits, look at 2019, 20, 21, 22, it's all over the board. And benefits are just mostly health and retirement, which is retirement SERS and STIRS. And in researching that, we had, okay, let's see. Well, researching that, most of it is, let me find where I said the health. Health went up. Oh, yeah, okay, health went up 2% in 2020. As far as the premiums go, we got a really good break on the premiums. And 6% in 2021, and 9% in 2022. And in 2023, it's going up it's about 18% in premiums. So, anyway, that's definitely having an effect. But this up and down business really is from STRS, because we give them, in the middle of the year before, we work with them in projecting the next year's certified salaries. But then in the meantime, people are hired, and people change on the salary schedule. And so some years they take out a lot more than other years. Some, like, we'll pay less STRS a following year than we paid the current year. And because if you overpay, they have to take it out. Then if you underpay, they have to increase it. It just is it's a crazy circle. I mean, crazy cycle. Cycle. Does that make sense there too? So it's all built on estimates, and if things change, and we find, and again, we're hiring people now, so, but, so I don't know what it'll be next year. We'll have to see, but it's up and down, up and down. So those big numbers there, a lot of it in the past is from, 21, they made up for taking too much from us in 2020. In 2020, they took too much from us. So, and then in 22, so mostly it's STRS, but some of it is health benefits as well. And so, for example, in 24 and, 25, see, in 24, we've added staff, and that's going to have an effect. And in 25, it's going to be 8.92% more, plus the 12.83%. Because we're adding some of the ESSER back in too. So when you look at those bars, it's that amount plus the one before too. So it's continuing to increase, like 8.9. But then it goes back to 5.6 in 26 because I don't have evidence of hiring more staff. And I think I've just said 3%. Let's see. I don't think it's going to stay at 17% health. I think it's going to go back down. I mean, I'm guessing, who's going to know in 5 years, but I probably estimated 5 to 7%. So it's going to go down. So that's what health and STIRS are, and you're just trying to project, and STIRS always makes you wrong in the end from your projection. So, okay. Does that make sense? We don't have any more questions? Okay, thank you. What about, can you run the next slide then too? Okay, this is purchase services, and I put this in here because it really is salaries and benefits as well, because Peterman and Sodexo are people. And so those are our biggest contracts. So that's, so that you could consider that salary and benefits as well. So, so there you have again 2020, 21, and 2022. So 20 and 21 are pandemic. You know, we didn't have transportation some of those years. There were a lot of things that some of the special needs students were homeschooled, that we didn't have to provide some services like that. I mean, a lot of purchase services costs went down. I mean, you don't usually see that. You would never see that if it wasn't this pandemic, I'm thinking. And 22, let's see, okay, let me write that down. Oh, yeah. This is the biggest one, so the state, $1.2 million less there because the state, the open enrollment expense was a purchase service, community schools. So they changed their funding and they no longer take out community schools, open enrollment, ODE, the scholarships. They don't, and then also I noticed our College Credit Plus fell during those pandemic years as well. Because you know how it was with kids in college and going, you know, with everything. So that was a big change, but we don't expect that to continue because we've negotiated new contracts. I mean, even 23 it still shows a negative, and and I'm sure it's the carryover from the foundation or from the state funding that they're not taking those things out. So that plays out, but in the future. You know, it's going to go up. Everywhere I've been, until all this craziness happened, purchase services was really hard to contain because of all your special needs students. And so it's hard to not just contain, but it's hard to predict because one student can make a big difference. But we have negotiated new contracts or some additions with Peterman, with, you know, Sodexo, with raises. And so all of that's going to kind of play out in the next year or two. And we're really not charging ESSER with that. We're doing general fund. So that should have some effect. But at least it's a start. We'll see how it goes. At least see how it goes this first year with these projections compared to actual. Can you go to the next? I think that's it. Okay, so this is just a display of how much we expect to start deficit spending in 25. And again, you know, I really think that the fair school funding plan is going to continue, and we won't start that. So, but I can't rely on it now. So we will start spending a balance, and unless, you know, we hire more people in 24, and I don't know what that is yet. So, okay. Okay, go to the next screen, please. Oh, revenue. Okay, so now we're moving to revenue. Here again, 20, 21, 22, we got money we didn't expect in a lot of different ways. So this is all revenue. So the detail follows, but this is the craziness in revenue, and we're expecting, because the fair school funding plan's not in effect, we're not expecting major increases because property taxing revenue doesn't grow like the foundation could. It's fairly flat. So go to the next screen. Oh, okay. So this is property tax. So we had reevaluation in 20, which we experienced it in 21. So we really did get a big bump in our tax receipts. And there's going to be another valuation and reevaluation in 24, which would affect 25. So, but we don't expect it to be 15 to 20% like it was in our area. So, that's going to affect some increase, but a lot of our mills are fixed sum. So it doesn't make all of our revenue go up. I mean, it only impacts the 20 mills. And it's, so some of our revenue will increase, but not significantly, but something. Okay. Okay, go to the next one. Okay, so see, I could not see how 22 and 23 are showing major increases, especially 23 for foundation. But again, we've been advised not to show those kind of increases for the future years. So Okay. Oh, and this, one other thing I wanted to show was the foundation it gives you unrestricted revenue and restricted. So they increased the restricted revenue. The revenue that's restricted must be used on gifted, ELL, and basically, let's see, what else was it? Oh, health and wellness. Health and wellness. So you have to use just that. But they increased it a lot this year, and next year it's not, they'll keep it about the same. They won't increase it, but the other part of the foundation will increase. So if you go back to the other screen, Cinda, up there, yeah. So that's why these unrestricted, we expect it to grow more in '23. Because it was 22 and 23, and this next year in '23, the unrestricted is going to grow more than the restricted, and that's why that shows 13%. The restricted is going to stay pretty much the same. Doesn't this sound complicated? I don't even know how I can talk about it. I mean, okay, so, and we spend much more than what they give us for gifted and health and wellness and all that. So we're always, you could be in trouble if you didn't spend that restricted. Okay, and then I did want to tell you that, the Rockies Express, we're modeling that they will be granted their tax complaint. So you can see how it's going to go down, well, it did already kind of go halfway down in '22 and the other half in '23, because we get tax receipts between 2 years. So you won't see the full effect until at the end of '23, but we're keeping it flat after that. Okay, see, I think that's it. Maybe, can you go, oh, the next one, Cinda?
That's it.
Is that it? Okay. All right,
I just have one question.
surely.
When are the TIFs falling off?
Well,
25?
like 25, but it's too, it's like 900,000, the building is 900,000 in value, or it's hard to, this is old data, it's probably more than that. So I don't really have enough specific to throw a number on there yet.
So the TIFs falling off are not reflected in the 5-year forecast yet?
Only one building in that abated area.
Okay.
And then after that, there'll be more.
So those numbers could actually improve because the TIFs are
Yeah.
falling off?
And, yeah,
Okay.
and the state, both.
Yes, but the funding and the TIFs running off,
Right.
there's a very good possibility we may not be deficit spending until year
What will
4
happen
or
is
5.
the abatement runs off, they'll have to start paying taxes, and the money will go into the city, and they'll pay us through the TIF.
Correct. Okay.
But, yeah, that would be nice. I need to get updated numbers on those values, and then have a better way to predict.
Okay.
So,
Holly, you alluded to the fact that we will not get any money back or get uncapped anymore. And you alluded to the fact that the Rockies Express pipeline money will probably be nil or 50% or whatever. Are you getting that information from the state, or who are you getting that from?
From treasurers all over,
Saying the same thing?
basically.
I think it's time that we have the representatives right here in one of these meetings that we're having on a regular board meeting to find out what the hell's going on.
I don't think she's saying that we're not getting it. She's just saying she's not putting in the projection.
Oh, I understand
until-
that. I understand that. We need to know what we're getting, what we're not getting, instead of just sitting back here and saying, well,
And hoping?
we don't know.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that's not right.
Yeah.
If we're not going to do it, if we're not going to get it, then you need to tell us. You need to tell us why.
What I'm hearing more and more is that it was overvalued, and that it shouldn't have been valued as high as it was.
You talking about what, Rockies?
Rocky.
Well,
Which tells
but you
me
know, that's
we're
the
up
name of the
against-
game. It was done when they put it in. When they put it in, the value was put on it, and they should have questioned it then, not now.
Bingo.
Yeah. Yeah, I just know.
But that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, we're one school district in what, 17, and with Rockies?
Yeah.
And so, we're all fighting for the same thing, but
Yeah.
we need to have people here that can tell us yes or no.
Yeah.
Where are we?
Yeah.
Because we don't know how to plan. It's probably, what, $900,000?
Yeah, it's 9.
And
Something like
then
that.
the capped is another,
Yeah.
3 or 4 million.
Yeah.
If they, we're still not totally uncapped, but if we could get that money,
Oh, yeah. We'll be, yeah.
we'd be,
It's like $1 million a
your
year.
charge
So
will
we're
look a
underpaid
lot
$7
better.
million. So,
So, but,
and now we're underpaid, we'll be underpaid $5 million.
So they gave us an additional $2 million a year that expires this year. So if we got the extra 2 million, just doing simple math, not doing treasure math, but just doing my math, we would not be deficit spending until 2027 at the beginning.
Right, right,
Okay.
right.
Okay. Any other questions?
Tom, I will tell you, there's I didn't have time to watch it yet, but from these Forecast 5 people about all the pipeline issues. And when I watch it, I'll let you know what I hear and what they say.
well, they're going to spin us. I know what's going to happen. We're going to be spun
Yeah, well,
on the.
I don't know. We'll just see.
They're not going to, we'll never see 100% of it.
I think, huh?
We'll never see 100%
Oh,
of it.
no, we won't. I
what?
mean, the tradition is half.
Pipeline
The
taxes.
tradition is half. They always do half, yeah, as a rule. That's what,
And, like I said before, it becomes a public pipeline for the money that everybody is losing to pay that thing off.
yeah, I know, it makes you mad. Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Moving on to 5.5.
I'm asking the board to approve the wellness grant from Butler Health Plan in the amount of $5,040 and also Fund 019-9423 to account for the grant.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs.
Second.
Hagedorn. Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions?
So now we have $7,714 to spend in health and wellness.
Okay.
And Stacy Williams heads that up.
All right. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 5.6.
And as I do every September, October of every year, I'm asking you all to approve Title I or title carryover funds from 2022 to 2023.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 5.7.
Okay, now I'm asking the board to approve this federal grant of $628 and Fund 0069001 to account for this reimbursement.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
I know it seems small, but that's what we have to do. So, I mean,
Every dollar.
Any questions? All right, Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. Item 5.8.
I'm asking the board to approve reestablishing power of the Penn Fund for junior high and Fund 200-917C.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions? Glad to see it's back. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, Mrs. Cahall.
Thank you.
Moving on to Section 6, Superintendent's Update.
All right, I just have a few quick things here. I did want to share again that we formed that facilities core group and we'll be meeting the week, 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, the December 5th, I believe is the date, to kind of get our get organized and set dates so we can start meeting monthly and really start working to get that community input to see where we are going to, which direction we're going with a new building. We can share with them timelines and all that. And what we'll do is we're actually, Adam Markham is our PR guy. He's going to come so he can get summaries out to the public about everything that's going on with that as we work through that process. And of course, Fanning Howie will be very, or I guess it's Fanning Howie. They got rid of the and at some point, so I keep saying and. I don't know, but they will be with us each step of the way, so. The other one thing I want to talk about is that Mr. Grant and I met with the city manager and mayor. They have started the exploration of a possible community center / YMCA something. And they threw out different ideas. What we committed to was we are absolutely open to listen and will participate in a process that they want. And, we've got to look out what will benefit our kids, but what also is going to be best for the school district in the future. So we couldn't participate in anything that would disrupt us building a new school or anything along that. That's our first priority. But Monroe is in a desperate need for some type of community center. And if there's anything that the district can do in coordination with the city, we'd be happy to do what we can. And then the last thing, the next Hornet Pride, my little quick YouTube show that comes out monthly will be out tomorrow. It's I met with two different student groups. I was going to talk about with Mr. Guido here because I did interview the environmental club, and then the other group was the
We're just gonna have to wait and see.
the Hornet Ambassadors, the Safety Patrol.
Safety
And I know he's a little bitter about that. I did learn that his twin sister was on the
Yes.
Yeah.
Safety Patrol, but he was not, so. Look for that. The kids did a great job. We got a lot of great kids doing great things in this district, so. That is all I have for my update today.
All right, very good. Thank you. Moving on to section 7, superintendent's personnel business.
It's recommended the board approve the following resignations.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Any questions on that? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 7.2.
Yeah, congratulations to Mr. Burklow on that. His retirement is in there at the end of the year. 7.2, it's recommended the board approve the following hiring of new employees.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Any questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 7.3.
It's recommended that we approve the following substitutes. We actually just have that one substitute paraprofessional.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Any questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 7.4.
It's recommended the board approve the following extracurricular contracts.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Any questions on the extracurriculars? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 7.5.
It's recommended to approve the following gate workers for the athletic department.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Sorry, Tim, a little slow on that one. Any questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 7.6.
It's recommended the board approve the $504 stipend for Stacy Williams to serve as the wellness coordinator. And again, that is paid for by that grant that Mrs. Cahill talked about earlier.
Okay. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Tim, this is your
Yeah,
chance.
there's your chance, Tim.
There's your Tim.
What do you just hold on?
I mean, I already tried.
We're waiting, Tim.
Second.
Thank you, Mr.
I was
Carpenter.
waiting for you guys to jump in there.
Any questions? Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. And moving on to section 8.1.
It's recommended the board approve the following donations.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. See? I got
I'd
you.
like to say thank you.
Yes.
I always
Thank you.
like to see those donations every month.
That's
Yeah.
always good.
Got to see the bowling team's new uniforms on,
Yeah,
I
it's
think
all-
those were posted somewhere
Yeah,
on Twitter or
saw 'em on the,
something.
Those are pretty
page.
sharp.
They look
They
really
are.
good.
Yeah.
They do look very good.
All right. Any other questions?
Thank you for the donations.
Yep. Ms. Gale, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. Item 8.2.
8.2 is just the first reading. Action will be taken at the December meeting, so please just make sure you read through those if you have any questions prior to the next meeting.
Okay. Moving on to item 8.3.
It's recommended the board approve the agreement with Fanning Howie to provide facilities master planning at a cost not to exceed $25,000.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Any questions on that?
What do, it says up to 25,000, do we
So there
expect
was-
to hit 25,000 or?
It's, so legislation was recently passed that if you exceed 25,000, that you have to go out for a formal bidding process. So that is their, just way of saying that they're not going to go above, to make sure it's not above that 25,000, so.
Understood.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'll just make a comment that, we got a chance to review with several firms a few months ago, and I think a decision to move forward with Fanning and Howie was definitely the strongest, so I commend Robert on making that final decision and looking forward to working with that group. I think they're going to really help us push our school building process forward and really get where we need to go. So I'm excited to work with them.
My daughter had recently had a scrimmage at the new Middletown Junior High, and I'd not been in the building before, and they did that one, and
Yep.
it's a really nice building, so.
Good. Any other questions? All right, Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. And item 8.4.
Next one is just calendar review of events.
Okay. All right. And thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Buskirk. Appreciate it. Before we move to adjournment, starting with comments from the board, we'll start with you, Mr. Leeds.
I had the opportunity to go to OSBA and attend the annual meeting that they had up there, and they got kind of heated on some subjects. It was a long meeting. But there were people that weren't too favorable, and it wasn't a rubber stamp meeting, let's put it that way. So there's a lot of comments, a lot of questions, and that they're going to have to answer. And it was fun listening to everybody getting up and trying to talk about the different subjects, but the people in the audience, the members in the audience, they kind of put them down a little bit and said, enough's enough, let's go. So the other thing I did while I was up there is I went through the displays, and I stopped at the OSFC facility, and I went in, I said, I want to speak to you guys like a Dutch uncle. And the guy said, what are you talking about? I said, I want to know where we are when it comes to Monroe. And he said, let me look it up. He looked it up and he said, you're 174th. And he said, I don't think you're able to see anything for at least another 2 years. And they had a woman he didn't introduce me to. She came in, and she was one of the wheels of it. And she said that, I asked her, I said, I just want to make sure that the funding is there at the percentage we talked about, 71%, and it is, and no problem there. I said, my concern is if we go ELP, will we get that guarantee to get that money back at that 71%? And she said, yes. She said that the state cannot alter that. Well, we'll see what goes. But it was a good discussion, and I was surprised that we are that far down the list, I guess you want to put it that way, or up on the list. That's concerning to me. But I didn't ask for an explanation because other people have passed levies that were in line, and they hadn't passed them until now, so that's what kicked us back. So other than that, I want to thank the staff for everything that you guys are doing. Is like Eric talked about, and we talked about it last meeting, the fall sports were fantastic, and looking forward to the winter sports. So other than that, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Mrs. Hagedorn.
So I'd like to piggyback a little bit on what Tom was talking about, the OSBA convention up in Columbus. I think I was unable to go this year. I'd like to go next year and maybe see if all of us can go, like a group thing. So kind of put that on your little calendars, I don't know. We all have jobs, so is it possible? I don't know, but kind of something to think about, plan for possibly, so. It's a year event, and I saw the little post on Facebook. I was like, man, that was really cool. I should have went. But things happen, and it's all good. So just something put out there. So I wanted to say thank you to the Environmental Club. They took a day off and went to the Monroe Community Park and did a cleanup day. I thought that was fabulous when I saw that. I also was impressed with the junior high science department hosted a stargazing one evening. I thought that was really, really impressive to get hands-on learning experience from the kids outside of the classroom. And that also goes with the high school during the career days, having the students go out and learning that there's other things to do. I've always thought, some kids go to college to go to workforce, go to the military. I think it's important that the kids learn a skill so they can be successful in life, whatever that skill is, and to have the opportunities to go to the different businesses in the area and see all the different opportunities that are available to them. I don't know if there's many other high schools out there that actually do that. I don't know, I'm just strictly Monroe, but I think it's really cool that we offer that and that there's students that take advantage of that. I think that's wonderful. So yeah, I just wanted to last shout out to Eric Silverman. I think he does a fabulous job as athletic director with dealing with the parents, the coaches, the students. There's so much behind the scenes that I'm learning that he does, and he does a really great job. So thank you, Eric. And really, that's it. I'd like to say happy studying to the students because exams are going to be coming up before our next meeting, or maybe the week of our next meeting. That's we're here for studies and students to be successful, so happy studying to the students. And then happy Thanksgiving to the staff and everybody here. Enjoy the holiday weekend.
Thank you. Mr. Fulham.
Do it. It's time for my high fives from around the hive. All right, high five to all our fall athletes for an exciting season. Thank you to our seniors for all that you have done for your respective programs. High five to all involved in the production of Kodachrome. The Monroe Thespian Troupe 1709 are always fantastic, and I genuinely appreciate all of the hard work that went into making the fall play a success. High five to our athletic director, 2 high fives and 1, Eric Silverman and his staff for the impressive turnaround time on completing the high school gymnasium floor refinish. The photos look great, and I am excited to attend some events soon to see the results firsthand. I've heard nothing but positive comments from the community and students. High five to all involved in the organization of the winter clothing drive, as well as staff and community members who donated dozens of items that will go directly to families in need within the community. And finally, I just want to take this opportunity to wish our students and staff a very happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your fall break, and we look forward to seeing everyone back next week.
Fantastic. Thank you. Mr. Carpenter.
Well, I don't think there's much left to say, but just have a great
Would you like me
Thanksgiving.
to start at this end of the table next month?
No, he wouldn't know what to do with
I say we
himself.
make AJ go last.
Absolutely.
But no, just everybody have a safe and enjoyable Thanksgiving. You guys have definitely earned your, what was that, 5-day weekend? So enjoy it very much.
I'll echo just what everyone else has said, but congratulations to our fall athletes. It was a successful fall season. From my family to all of you and the staff and everyone in the community, happy Thanksgiving. And I'm hoping maybe tomorrow we'll have a future Hornet in the Grant family coming into the world. So hopefully here this week. So, but not on Thanksgiving Day, according to Mom, because she wants to eat. So after. So, but no. With that said, I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:06.
How you gonna make it?
So moved.
What?
Did you make the motion?
He said he's gonna make a motion.
First
Take it. What did I say?
He said
No, I meant to say, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at
I've
8:06?
never seen this before. This is amazing.
We're not having.
Oh, okay, all right. I
So moved.
missed that.
Thank you,
Second.
Mr. Leeds.
Third.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Fourth it.
Yeah, Tom and Tim.
Where's his intro music?
There's Tom's intro music.
All right. May I have Ms. Gale, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Meeting adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
I wanted to hear class.